All right, we're back. What's up, dudes?
Aloha from Iceland.
What's up, guys?
So Rose actually joining us from vacation. You're in a spaceship right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, in my spaceship going around Ring Road, or Ring Loop, I should say. Um, Coming in for a landing tomorrow, back in the Netherlands.
Cool. Nice little vacay for you.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Highly recommend checking out Iceland. Just to those folks listening, um, they both love and hate Americans here, just in general. Uh, yeah, it's a pretty great time.
Nice, nice. Cool. Well, just to kind of recap some of the stuff that we covered last week. We got into some stuff we didn't actually get into. Tyler's conspiracy theory. We just touched a little bit on Dave Portnoy, Safe Moon. We had a little bit of fun that we got into. Markets are kind of going sideways a little bit. Seems like we've floated up off of the bottom, if that's what that was. We've at least bounced a little bit. I think we're sitting just below the $40,000 level for Bitcoin, and it just kind of, from most people that I've talked to and most sentiment, I think that we're just kind of gathering, balancing out, consolidating, maybe going sideways a little bit here, recovering a little bit from the pullback, recalibrating, all that kind of stuff. So we've really got kind of an open call today, so we can really get into whatever we want to. So who wants to start?
Yeah, I've been absent pretty much the last 2 weeks, so just catching up on some things here and there. Really, we had that big sell-off um, over the last couple days, maybe last 5, 10 days, maybe not quite 10 days. We started to consolidate. The way I'm looking at the market right now is kind of what I've been harping on for a while. Um, it looks like DeFi Summer is going to happen. And I think it's being kicked off with Arbitrum being released kind of on Chainlink. I think that's today or tomorrow, something like that. So yeah, I think what I'm seeing is that everything has sold off pretty substantially. But these DeFi names like, Aave, Compound, KNC, maybe not KNC, but like Aave and Compound, Wi-Fi specifically, also Link. These guys have recovered much quicker than on a relative basis than compared to the rest of the market. And so they're showing strength when everybody else is showing weakness. And so given that, these most of those names generate cash flows and can be valued using like traditional valuation methods, it does make sense to me, if there's money still flowing into crypto, that they're flowing in through through these DeFi names. And so, like one of the things about DeFi is that we just had this tremendous sell off. But if you're in stables and you're just earning yield on these things, as long as you didn't get rug pulled, like in some of these like more speculative names, then you really were unaffected by the massive like 60 to 70% drawdown that just happened. So I mean, it's very fascinating to see crypto evolve into this, where everything was primarily like speculative in nature. You actually have some fundamental values being created in crypto now, and I think we're going to see over the next month, June specifically, some pretty good gains across the board, specifically for DeFi.
Yeah, it's interesting because DeFi summer. I mean, it's summertime. Um, and we've kind of talked about what DeFi summer is, where that fits in with alt season. You know, um, and maybe the pullback the alt season pullback that we experienced was kind of a tip of the hat to kind of kick off DeFi a little bit, and just in terms of timing, in terms of, to your point, Rohit, the value that wasn't lost in DeFi. And, the fact that leverage seems like it was targeted, when you have a 40% correction, any 2x leverage, you're kind of like, okay, that didn't get me. But a 60% pullback means that, leverage is the target there. So what do we see kind of playing out over the next couple of months? What do we see playing out over the rest of the summer as it relates to DeFi summer and alt season?
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, I still think end of year targets of like 200K or within reach. I think it's for Bitcoin specifically. Um, we'll need some pretty aggressive buying in order to get end of year 200K. But I think 100K is still very much within the realm of possibilities. Um, I think Suzu and Three Arrows Capital, I think they're still, it's interesting as they've gotten more prominence. Psychology has kind of shifted on them, whereas it's just kind of the old adage, like you either die a hero or you live long enough to become a villain. And they're shifting from the hero phase to the villain phase because they're traders, right? They're a hedge fund, and their job is to take money from take dumb money and bring it to smart money that they are. Um, so their kind of philosophy, or not their philosophy, but the perspective, the market perspective of them has kind of shifted in my eyes as they've gotten more prominence. They just had a Bloomberg article, yada yada yada. But I do think, in general, what they signal is correct, and I do think the super cycle is still very much intact. That Suzu's always talking about, and that's basically just more money will flow into crypto than than like than people allowing a multi-year bear market to happen. Can we have a bear market for several months? Yeah, certainly. Where things drop, consolidate, drop a little bit more, consolidate. But I don't think a multi-year bear market is kind of here, especially after a 3-year bear market that just happened from 2018 on.
Yeah. Yeah, you brought up a good point. Will, maybe we can kind of pull up the tweet where was it Suzu or CZ? One of them kind of defined supercycle, clarified what they meant by supercycle. Well, I think one of the criteria of that was shorter and shorter bear markets, less sustained bear markets, and it may or may not have been a part of that tweet, but just digging into what a super cycle is. Super cycle doesn't necessarily mean up and up only and everything goes up and it stays up. But let's see. But there are some things to note that are important, and it's about moving in a particular direction, even though it doesn't necessarily go straight there. And I think that one of the criteria that you can look at is the type of money that's coming in, just the general adoption of things, what the overall bullish sentiment is, and who's left, right? Like the conversion of non-believers into actually users going through the adoption phase. But I think that shortening of bear markets, the way that you said it, Ro, is that how with everything that we have going for us, talking about the crypto community and where things are, it's only a matter of time before people come back in. And how can we actually go through another 3-year bear market, given kind of the positioning that we are? So in my mind, if we are actually in a super cycle, We'll realize it here pretty soon because money won't be able to contain itself from flowing back in. I think that a lot of the participants who are kind of new to the market got scared. I think many of the participants who have been around for a little while, but man, you still take a hit like that, it sucks. But then some of the more mature participants expect these sort of things, and generally try to be positioned for these sorts of things. But if you look at all of those parties, they're all still right here. The people who put in $300 into Doge and got burned, they'll have a few more paychecks in the next few months, and they'll probably find another $300 to put into, some maybe Doge, maybe something else. So yeah, I kind of agree with that, Ro. And if money starts flowing in, I think one thing is like, more money I think will flow into crypto than is in crypto. And I think like that is the scale that I look at. At what point has most of the money flown into crypto? Because then you've got a different dynamic. But for now, I mean, I think it's still early. I think it's still early, and I think that there's still enthusiasm.
I mean, Bitcoin isn't even $1 trillion market cap anymore. I think it's around the $750 billion mark right now. And when you like value the global financial system, we're talking about quadrillions of dollars. Yeah, quite literally quadrillions of dollars. And, $1.2 trillion. Yeah, it's compared to where we've been, it is a sum, it is a large sum of money. But compared to a global financial system, it's still relatively just maybe a couple drops in the bucket at this point. So yeah, I think there's still quite a bit of room to go. And coming back to the super cycle, again, there are productive assets in Bitcoin or in crypto now. You can literally put stable coins to work and earn 10, 20, up to 50% yields relatively safely amongst a variety of products, whether that's YFI, Aave, Comp, Maker. There's several others. I'm going to just throw out personal favorite, which is Badger. Yeah, there's quite a few. Yeah, that's the tweet. That's precision in language matters. Supercycle does not mean number go up every day. It means that adoption steams forward rapidly and that the odds of a multi-year bear market again become significantly lower as institutional and mainstream capital comes into the space.
I think that was your point, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's like, there's too much money on the sidelines. We're at $2 trillion maybe compared to like the global financial system, which is what crypto aims to replace at the end of the day. Like, let's not forget that no matter how far we come, I know I've repeated this with you guys like 1,000 times over the last several years, but like this was always a binary outcome. Bitcoin would either be worth like very little or it would be worth, almost everything. And now, with the proliferance of all these different cryptos and how difficult it is to change like the underlying protocol of Bitcoin, you have Ethereum and all these other cryptocurrencies that have a lot of value and that do different things. So it's not just going to be Bitcoin now, but it is a binary outcome in the sense that it's either going to be crypto or it's not because of the decentralized peer-to-peer blockchain nature of it.
Yeah, I hear you there. What else we got? What else is on our minds?
I mean, I tend to agree with a lot of what Rose said. I mean, I'm a believer in the super cycle. I think Sue's a smart guy. And I think, bear markets are getting shorter, and I think we're going to get a DeFi summer. If you follow the alpha, Sam and Alameda bought a bunch of altcoins, right? A bunch of DeFi altcoins, right? So they're the leaders of the pack. They had to go ahead and get in early. The guys who are right there behind them sold Bitcoin early, sold ETH, or sold Bitcoin high, sold ETH high, and it has been sitting in stable coins, farming yield in DeFi pairs, Wi-Fi, Sushi, Badger, and the guys with the most money in the space. It's like Rose said, all the money it's sitting on the sidelines. We're seeing billions of dollars of Tether or USDC and all these things print every day. And it's like, they're not going and necessarily buying altcoins or buying Bitcoin. A lot of these are just going and farming yield. And so it's like, at some point, these guys have been farming this thing that they believe has value, more than what it's currently at. So you're going to see these yield assets appreciate and have people come and buy them who know nothing about what they do, right? And that money is going to flow out into those pairs that the yield assets have into liquidity. And then that's when we're going to have an alt season. But I don't know. I mean, I think we have a DeFi summer because fees are so low right now. I mean, fees. I did some Uniswap transactions this morning, and it almost made me giddy because it was like, I'm used to paying $100 a transaction, and it was $8. It makes me just want to sit here and play with Uniswap, but I can't do that. And so I think we're going to get a DeFi summer. I think all these people that got exposed to DeFi last summer are going to see these low fees. They're going to come back out. They're going to come play. They're going to show their friends, hey, you can do this now. But I don't think we're going to get an alt season until the fall.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that makes a ton of sense. Your majors like Bitcoin and Ethereum and anybody else who's a major, let's just say, when you see a 60 to 70% drop, it takes time typically to take out those highs. That's a big drop, and you have a lot of selling pressure that comes from that magnitude of a drop. So it takes time to build positions for institutions and your market makers to truly build their positions and take the market to those all-time highs. And it's gonna, there's a playbook for it, if you will. You test those resistance areas several times before you finally break through them. So I expect consolidation for several months before we go up to take out those highs again. But to Tyler's point, yeah, we do have a lot of money on the sidelines, and I do think we'll see all-time or a DeFi summer as well. What I'm curious about is just kind of one second. I can't share my screen. Let me post this and see if you guys could share it for me. Yeah, if you guys could share that for me. What I'm curious in is seeing if where you guys think we are in the whole market cycle phase.
And you're talking about crypto markets in the big scheme of things, just general crypto markets, where we are in this whole thing.
Yeah, like no matter what time frame you're on, you have this cycle basically happen all the time. However, on a broad, like a long-term perspective, where do you think we are in terms of crypto today?
Despair. Could be. It could also be bull trap. Could also be bear trap, or we could still be in stealth phase.
So I'm just going to give my opinion. Long term, like truly like long term. And this comes back to, who's the target market for crypto? What is it going to replace? It's going to be the global financial system, the basis of the global financial system. So when I think of that, at a $2 trillion market cap, I'm like, there's no way it's a bull trap. There's still so much more money to come. So unless there's something else that's better that replaces crypto, so for me, I personally think we're at the bear trap, because now, like, institutions have gotten in. They've gotten into Bitcoin in a large way. You have Carl Icahn, you got Ray Dalio. You still don't have some institutions like Buffett and Charlie Munger. They're not going to be in. They're going to miss out. This is just not their game, and they've missed out on software over the last 10 years as well. So this is not their game. But you have Dalio and Icahn just announcing that they're interested. You have PayPal and Square. You have rumblings of Apple. You already have Musk, obviously, and so and then you have all of these kind of Wall Street firms, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, who've announced all of their interest and exposure to crypto. Not to mention Fidelity. I'm not sure about Vanguard, but institutions have come in. And so what we just saw, in my opinion, and over the next month or two, will be like the bear trap. You have instituted some fear into the market of if you're a crypto OG, you see this and you're like, oh, we're going down for years. You see this drop off because you think, and maybe some of them do. And maybe I'm just like a dumb bull, but yeah, I think in my mind, we don't have central banks who have really announced interest and started attributing capital towards crypto yet. And we don't have the public. We have some smart money, smart money from the public that have started to come in, specifically in China and America, maybe Singapore and parts of Europe. But by and large, when you talk about crypto to normal people who work, 5 to 9 or 9 to 5s, they're only just now getting familiarized with it. They're seeing it on CNBC and on the news a little bit more. They're getting comfortable with it. It's been around for 10 to 12 years. They've, at this point, everybody's pretty much heard about it if you're in a developed nation. And, I can't speak to people who aren't in developed nations, but yeah, I think we're kind of shifting to this mania phase, or we're about to kind of shift to this mania phase where everybody and their mom are going to be, holy shit, this is actually the thing. And it this chart might not be super accurate in terms of timing, just the length of each phase. The mania phase could last for much longer, but and kind of occur more slowly, just depending on what happens in the future. If there are really governmental teams of governments that try to prevent crypto from really latching on. But I totally believe that on a long-term perspective, not months or years, but on a decades sort of time frame, we are very close to the start of the mania phase.
Tyler, what do you think? Where are we at, man?
I don't know. That's you look at all these different charts and you see different different crypto assets at different part of this phase, all the time. And so it's I guess for Rose's question, I've got to look at like Bitcoin. It's like the best I can do is look at Bitcoin on like a monthly candle chart, right? And it's like, if that's the case, then I would say that like the awareness phase started around January 15 and ran through maybe June of 19. And so it's like, I mean, we've kind of been in the mania phase, like since then. I mean, we had a sell off in March of 2020, so it's like maybe that was the real bear trap. But I don't know. I feel like the bear trap was probably October of 18 to May of 19. So it's like based off of that, I'd say that we're somewhere in the media, we're past the media attention, and the dump was because there's a lack of public enthusiasm. It's like we're still enthusiastic, we're still excited, we know, but the sheeple are not as enthusiastic. And so I mean, I think this could be a big fake out, and maybe it's symbolic of the lack of public enthusiasm. But I would say that that's about where we are on the valuation for this, which would mean that we're like halfway through the period. But what would that be? Like we made it like a third of the way up the chart. So that would still put us on pace with getting close to 200K, but like not quite 200K this time. But I would say that's about where we are on Bitcoin. But on like Chainlink or Zcash, I mean that's a different story.
Well, as my rebuttal, I look at total market cap, like on TradingView total is what I'm looking at. And again, we're at $1.75 trillion. The total addressable market is at a minimum, in my eyes, $100 trillion. So from that perspective, I'm just like, on a long-term perspective, there's no way we've entered in the mania phase of this market, because everybody and their mom doesn't have crypto. I think right now, maybe 20 to 25% of the world, maybe 20% of the world has crypto, like has wallets and everything. And that's only gonna increase. But yeah, there's no way in my mind that we've ventured in the mania phase quite yet. I think just to reiterate, I think we're in the bear trap. Rishi, where are you at?
Yeah. Of course, this is tough. It's tough to figure it out because we don't know. And this chart isn't perfect, but it is a pretty good model for how to look at patterns and flows, psychology, and how herds tend to form and what happens when they do. I think that the line is one thing. If you look at the mean, the dotted line that increases slightly at a regular rate over time, and then you look at the red line, which is the actual market sentiment or valuation. And in this scenario, we're talking about general crypto markets. And that's difficult to do because we've had a decoupling, a divergence of most cryptos from Bitcoin. So I think that one way of looking at it, like Tyler was doing, was looking at it as Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is, the main crypto, however you want to kind of look at it. But it's becoming less and less a part of the picture. because of that divergence and decoupling. So it's difficult. It's difficult to look at. But what I'm looking at is less the lines and more the words. So the different characteristics and the criteria of human emotions that kick in to try to gauge where we are when it comes to public sentiment, institutional sentiment, and then smart money sentiment. And then, so that's the other key is instead of focusing on what phase we're in, let's look at the participation of these three different categories of people. So we would say smart money, we would probably consider ourselves to be smart money. Even if we're not that smart, we'll go ahead and group ourselves in that category because we're not institutional and we're not the public. So even if smart money means that we just had a little bit of foresight and got in at an earlier, stage, early adopter type of thing, we have a pretty good idea of the sentiment of smart money. Smart money believes that this isn't done yet. When it comes to institutional investors, we know that institutional money has been flowing in for quite some time. But is all the institutions' balance sheets full of crypto? Are all the institutions that will get in? The bankers, I'm not so sure that they are. The real estate people, I'm not so sure that they are. The financial institutions, yeah, I'm pretty confident that they are. So if you just look at Wall Street and financial institutions, then we should be past that phase. But I think all the smart money has crypto, because otherwise you'd be dumb. Like, you wouldn't be smart money because you wouldn't be in it. Are all the institutions in it? I don't think so. That doesn't preclude the public from getting into it. But if you hop over to the public side, have we seen public greed? Have we seen public delusion? Have we seen everybody and their mom get rich? No. What does new paradigm mean? I don't think that means 100K Bitcoin or 200K Bitcoin. I think that's all expected. A new paradigm means $1 million Bitcoin before we all realized it would happen. And that's what you need to have public greed and delusion, because you just need a few sats to get really, really rich. So all in all, I think that it's difficult for me to see that we're too deep into the public realm of things. It is more likely that we're somewhere within the institutional investors' awareness phase. I'm not so sure that we've even hit the bear trap. I'm not so sure that the first sell-off, leads to this bear. I think that we may see a couple more of these sell-offs and bear traps. Or at least we may be beginning that period to allow the rest of the institutions to get in. Because I don't think that this last 60% sell-off allowed for all the institutions to come in. So yeah, I do feel like we're in the awareness phase. I just feel like the chart may be off a little bit, not entirely accurate, of course. And I don't think that we're quite at the end of the awareness phase, even though we may be in some sort of a sell-off leading to a bear trap. That being said, Ro, I know you got to go in just a minute. So if you got any final thoughts before you hop off, man, jump in.
Yeah, this is just too fun for me to leave right now. So we're gonna try this out. Steffi's driving, and yeah, we're just gonna try this out. I'm gonna be driving a little bit along the way, so I might not be contributing as much, but I'll just try and have some fun with it. I just posted another chart on the chat. If you don't mind opening that up, Will. I thought that was a really interesting observation you meant with the dotted line, Rishi. Just kind of the mean reversion aspect of these market cycles. And I just kind of drew one line right there myself. And it was just kind of interesting. It kind of makes sense with where we're at in terms of the macro picture of this chart. We've tapped the bear phase. Based off this, in my mind, it's we've hit the bear trap already, and now we're in the mania phase, and we're kind of in the media attention, sort of enthusiasm phase, where things start, we're slowing down a little bit, but they're about to spike up. And I could totally see that happen in real life.
I got a little bit of a, I don't know if you can call it a rebuttal, but a clarification. When I look at this chart, not this one that we have up, but the one we were looking at before, when it actually mentions media attention, media attention is really what kicks off the public phase, or the public mania phase. And you could argue that we've seen media attention. I think that you could argue that we've seen media attention for the last 5 to 6 years. But what we haven't really seen is media hype, right? Really, we've seen media coverage. We haven't seen media attention. And so what that means to me is like the media is not just, objective reporters that are interested in delivering facts. They are, hopefully, that to some degree, but they also drive opinions. They drive special interests. And that's just a function of the media. So when I see media attention, I kind of tend to think of coordinated media action to drive the herd to crypto. What we're seeing right now is FUD. What we're seeing is Elon getting on Saturday Night Live and saying, I support Dogecoin. But what you're not seeing is the USA Today newspaper, giving financial advice. And that's going to happen at some point. They're going to write articles that are like, is now a good time to get into Bitcoin? They don't have to tell you to go buy Bitcoin. For anybody reading USA Today, they see that as the headline. That's media attention. That leads to enthusiasm, which leads to greed. And so coverage is not directing the herd. And I think that media attention, the mania phase, you got to have like a real herd. And I just don't know if we've really seen that. That being said, hey, maybe we're ahead of our time again, and maybe this isn't the super cycle. But if it is the super cycle, I don't think we're at the public level yet. Maybe we are. Maybe not all the public is the same. Maybe just because 55-year-olds aren't doing it until they see it in USA Today or their trusted, 45-year-old publication that they've been depending on their whole life. Because, I bet you at least 30 or 40% of 15-year-olds own crypto. So I don't know.
The only thing I'm going to say to that is like what we've seen this year. And that's just, I mentioned it before. It's like the conversations we've had with regards to crypto over the last 7 years are what is happening on CNBC right now. And so, like CNBC is the global financial standard for TV, like financial TV. And the fact that it's happening pretty much on a daily basis indicates to me that, okay, we're no longer in the, the stealth phase for sure. We're very much kind of on the border between the media really catching on to say, hey, we're going somewhere, and institutions finishing accumulating positions where they need to be.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you got a couple of things there. First of all, like regular people, most regular people in the United States can't even buy Doge, unless you're creative. You can't even buy Doge, right? So like, how can we be truly in the greed phase? How can institutions truly be primed? Robinhood won't even let you take your crypto with you. There's so much that has to be done to support, the delivery of this new asset to the masses. So I don't think institutions are quite ready for full public, wait till every merchant is accepting, some form of crypto. You remember right before the bubble popped 2017, we had, local businesses with signs up on their doors saying, we take stellar lumens here. We haven't seen anything like that. Just the ridiculous brazenness of people jumping into a new territory. it's still smart money and institutional investors, I think, that are being brazen and are kind of like really being fearless here. But in order for like the whole thing to blow up, it's everybody's got to be fearless. Could there be multiple sell-offs and bull traps? Could this be if this is a super cycle, the longest period of accumulation could be happening for institutions? That's where most of the money is in the world. But then again, that doesn't always mean an increase in price. Accumulation can happen at levels that tend to go sideways. And, you know, it's kind of like a buy the rumor, sell the news type thing. You know, we could be at the end of our institutional phase. We could be, but then again, we could be at the very beginning of it. I just don't know. How much money do you guys think has flowed in from the institutions? Not that 100% of, you know, Fortune 500 company balance sheets have to be based in crypto. But I mean, of the Fortune 500 companies, how many have some crypto at this point? How many hold some Bitcoin out of 500? Tyler, what do you think? Oh, you're on mute, Tyler.
I'd say less than I'd say less than 100 on Bitcoin.
Less than 100 on Bitcoin. So that would insinuate that only 20% of the top 500 companies in the United States, of the largest companies by market cap, right? And would you assume that those would be the largest of them all tend to have it? Or would it be unevenly scattered?
I don't know. I would have no idea. I would I mean, I would guess we have 300 to 400 billion dollars of institutional money in the space, whether that's from institutions or banks or Fortune 500 companies, or, you know, not individual.
Yeah, that's because it's like I could see tech companies holding some Bitcoin or some Ethereum. You know, MicroStrategies, Tesla, you know, companies like that. I could see that. I could also see other kind of futuristic, progressive management teams, you know, adopting that. But I could see a lot of companies that are some of the largest companies, like top 30 companies that are in kind of more blue collar or legacy, or, you know, not as tech related. Not that, you know, blockchain can't fix hardcore manufacturing issues and stuff like that in the future, but you know, in terms of the obvious need to add Bitcoin to your balance sheet, I could see some of the largest companies in the United States still not having any exposure to crypto. You know, does Walmart have Bitcoin? I don't know. Amazon probably does, but does Walmart? I don't know. You know, does I don't have a.
I think, did Walmart? I thought Walmart announced.
They may have. They may have. It was just an example. You know, like I don't know. I would argue that it would be unevenly distributed, but probably tech companies and kind of future-minded companies, younger companies, or extremely large companies with just tons and tons of cash that have been pressured to do it would be the ones to kind of be jumping in, not necessarily the herd of the institutions, if you will. And it's kind of like if you're an institution and you're buying crypto, you know, that bear trap, that first sell-off is going to be for the other institutions. You're getting ready to do that for the public, but you got to do that to the other institutions first. So, you know, I don't know. I think that there's still a lot of institutional money that needs to come in. Well, I can't see what you're presenting, which looks a blank screen to me.
Yeah, I see presentation, Will Ballard.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to kind of bring it all back, I think that if not all the institutions are in yet, we're not ready to sell to the public. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at. I don't think we're anywhere close to being able to sell to the public. I think it's going to take the rest of summer to do that. And maybe if you guys are accurate about a August or so timed alt season, maybe that'll end in the bear trap, and maybe the fall and Christmas season, the Thanksgiving season will be kind of what takes us to the new paradigm, or maybe the cycle lasts a lot longer.
I think it will last longer than we think it will, but I think the crux of the issue that will really determine the course of crypto going forward is going to be the dollar index. Just how valuable the dollar is relative to every other currency in the world. Typically speaking, when the dollar is going up, that's a risk-off environment. That means typically speaking, the correlations are that the S&P 500 and the general broader market starts to go down as the dollar strengthens in value. And what we're seeing right now, in my eyes, is the dollar selling off pretty drastically, and has been over the last year, for sure. Ever since we started printing money in 2020, we've seen a pretty marked decrease from about 103 on the dollar index down to 90, where it is right now. And based off of my own technical analysis, I expect a further drop on a longer term time frame, down to this kind of 80 level, which hasn't been tested for a long time, and then even further down on a longer term horizon, down potentially to the 60 level. And so, if we see the dollar lose value on a relative basis to the rest of the world's currencies, historically speaking, crypto has done the best in risk-on environments. When the stock market's going up, that's when crypto starts to really outperform. When the stock market goes down, just like last year, in March of 2020, when the stock market had like this COVID scare, crypto got just annihilated. And so ultimately, the thing underlying that is the dollar. And so that's what I'm really focused on as going to be the main trigger. Once we lose this 90 level, this $90 area, kind of down to the 88 range, if we start losing that, I think the dollar goes down pretty rapidly, and that will be the spark that makes this bear trap kind of over in my eyes. Tyler, do you agree with that?
I don't pay as much attention to the correlation between the DXY and the crypto as you do. I mean, I know we've looked at it and we've talked about it, and the DXY just looks like a dying currency. It just looks like it wants to just find little bits of support all the way down. And I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, because like that's the basis of the trade is Bitcoin versus USD. So if the dollar found strength, then yeah, we could see that could time really well with a good bear trap. I mean, I was just looking at trying to draw some other lines on the total crypto market cap in US dollar wise, and I could see the argument for how we're about to go into the bear trap, because I mean, if you look at the chart, you kind of have to say that like stealth phase goes from like 2009 to like 2000 and what, like 13, 2015. when would you say stealth phase ended? 13 to,
2017.
you think stealth
2017.
phase lasted from 2009 to 2017?
More or less. I don't think many institutions, like Three Arrows Capital didn't get started until 2017, 2018. They started in the bear market. And a lot of the most successful institutions, I think Multicoin is in a similar bucket. Like they didn't have exposure to crypto before that 20K run up. And so I think institutions entered post 20K.
So if that was an 8-year stealth phase, unless you don't count the stealth phase starting until 2013, because I guess that's when it became mostly tradable. So you could say a 4-year stealth phase. Then we're looking for a 6-year awareness phase based on the time criteria of the chart.
Yeah,
And
I think
again,
that it's worth looking at, but I don't think you can really rely on that because maybe this chart started in 2013. Maybe that the beginning of the red line, like because I'm looking at the end of the chart. Look at the end of the chart, the blow off phase. Look at despair. At the bottom of despair, we go down below levels that this chart even starts at. So when the blow off phase happens and we drop down way below the mean, like take that line all the way over, we actually go well below. It might be worth throwing that back up. We actually go well below where we even start, which means like if we started at what $1,200 was Mount Gox, $17,000 was 2017. So let's say $20,000 is where we started. That means we're going down below 20. When it all blows up, we're going down below 20. If we were to look at this last sell-off and say, wait, was that the blow-off phase? Well, then we drop down to 30, which was below what? 40? Which is where we started this whole thing, which is where we are now. Are we at the mean right now? So it's hard for me to figure out. But
based on Rohit's timeline, it's got us at new paradigm in 2026. So your blip could be you talked about could be 2026, 2027. That could be the big dip down below 20K.
For me, it's all about the dollar. And I think today Biden just came out proposing like a $6 trillion infrastructure budget, which would take, or at least the headline I saw, which would take government spending to levels not seen since World War II. And it's like, in this day and age, the question that I have for myself is like, why do we need that much spending, given that we're maybe not quite out of the hump from COVID, but like we're on the up and up and recovery. And so like, if we're just getting a general devaluation of the dollar, then that's risk on for everything, including the stock market, which, has recovered significantly in the last week since its sell-off that kind of corresponded with the cryptos sell-off.
So we don't know. Damn it. I was hoping we'd figure this out today. It's always a great chart to look at. And it's always a good thing to kind of remind yourself of. And, the point here is that while the mean escalates at a pretty linear rate in terms of how things kind of play out over time, market sentiment does not always reflect that. Markets are extremely irrational and volatile and emotional, and people do with their money what they do in their lives. And so people's lives are emotional and chaotic and unpredictable. And crypto's brand new in the big scheme of things in the world. So, you know, there's an argument that this chart may not even be fully accurate for that, but I think it is a good chart. It's pretty well studied, and it's something that we'll probably continue to pull up and talk about and use as a reference point to try to figure out where we are. But obviously, we have no idea where we are, and that is what we have to kind of keep in mind as we move forward and try to make decisions. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that that deep dive. What else we got? What else do we want to talk about? What do the top 5 market cap coins deserve to be?
On what time frame?
Like right now, like let's say during the months of May and June. We've already had May. We've got June to come. If we were to look at both of those months and smash them together as, let's just call it a consolidationary period or something like that, like whatever this is, what do you guys think the top 5 market cap coins deserve to be? Lots of thinking. I can look into your eyes and see all the data flowing.
I think Chainlink makes its way up there. I think Ethereum stays up there, Bitcoin stays up there, Tether stays up there. And I don't know between Doge, BNB, or XRP.
Throw XRP out of there. It has absolutely no right being top 5.
I mean, one that could do it would be Matic.
I think for me, my top 5 are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, just as like core underlying pillars of crypto, followed by Tether, and then Aave.
You think Aave makes it up there?
I think DeFi is huge. It's just such a new area of crypto that has, again, like productive assets for the first time. It's bonds for crypto, and on a global financial system, bonds are the bond market is much larger than any other financial tool, other than maybe derivatives.
Dang, man, that's like a 12x. It's got a pool.
The only thing I see about that is I don't disagree that DeFi is huge. I think that this is a decentralized version of finance, though. So you're not necessarily going to have one DeFi name that is, a huge market cap. I could definitely see 5 out of the top 10 being DeFi plays, at some point in time. But to have a single DeFi play jump into the top 5, you are talking about irrational markets on a hype cycle. I think the smartest people will have their money in DeFi, but I think that it'll coast kind of under the radar a little bit. I think that it'll stay on the fringes, and I think a lot of a lot of projects will be, kind of fair game for that. But I think that there's too much mistrust, there's too much misunderstanding, or not enough knowledge and experience in the market right now. I mean, potentially there's ETH flippening over Bitcoin. Even more fringe ideas are calling for a Doge flippening of Bitcoin. I think a lot of people look at Chainlink and understand that that's more than a DeFi play almost. I mean, it's critical. But then again, look at all the new projects that are coming along. The top 5 right now is all money. It's store of wealth, programmable money, whatever you want to call BNB, a reservoir capital token, a liquidity token, Tether, which is just fucking money, and you know what? What's after that? You know,
Cardano right
more,
now.
yeah, more money,
Cardano.
more money. So you know, where does the rest of the ecosystem? Where does the non-money stuff come in? Where does the stuff that are valid blockchain projects come in that aren't just money focused? I think those are going to be the things that have an opportunity to jump up. I don't necessarily think that that's going to happen in the next couple months. I think that consolidation is going to happen. I don't understand how BNB is where it is. I mean, I understand there's a lot of money and a lot of participation on Binance Smart Chain, but I just don't understand why BNB is in the top 5.
To me, BNB is the 2017 version of Ripple, just a centralized coin, and CZ can prop it up for as long as he wants.
And the Chinese people are allowed to access Binance Smart Chain, but they're not allowed to access a lot of Ethereum dApps. Like Uniswap is blocked by the Great Chinese Firewall. A lot of DeFi applications are blocked by the Great Chinese Firewall, but I'm pretty sure that they're allowed to utilize a bunch of Binance Smart Chain applications.
Yeah, I get it. It just seems like that can't last. It's not true to the space. Like, it serves a purpose right now, but come on, like, there's a certain amount of freedom that comes with the Binance Smart Chain. So I get that, but it's not the way that we're supposed to be doing things. So how long does it last? How long does it stay like this? I mean, when Coinbase launches itself as a platform, whatever the hell that means, and it could be, you know, their own version of, you know, ICOs, or they could launch their own smart chain platform to allow liquidity based on, you know, the access that they have to Wall Street markets. I mean, the days have to be numbered for a Chinese-based centralized smart chain, particularly in the United States. I don't know.
XRP is still top 10. So, I mean, I don't think it's going anywhere. And honestly, Binance has more users than Coinbase. So it is like a very profitable. I don't know if I don't know enough about like BNB coin, and like in terms of like using it on Binance to lower your fees. But you know, it is in some ways a productive asset that allows you certain features if you trade on Binance. So the fact that it's worth more than XRP, it makes a lot of sense in my mind. But in terms of like the idealism behind Satoshi's vision and decentralized future, in that regard, I'm just like, yeah, that has absolutely no business being where it is today.
Well, I get why it's got value. I don't get why XRP has value, at least the value that it has. Unless institutions look at that as a safe play, and it's really the not smart institutions, but the, you know, just institutions looking to get into something that is regulated or that the SEC is looking into or whatever. I don't know. Some of the top 10 seems futuristic. Some of it seems like it needs to go, like it's outdated. But then again, I'm just a dude.
Suzu mentioned in a tweet, or maybe a podcast, that's like, especially in crypto, there's different forms of wealth. There's like traditional finance wealth. There's like smart money wealth. And then there's like crypto OG wealth. And if you're a crypto OG, you know, like who got in pre 2011 before it got hit $1,000 for the first time or whatever, then you have a bunch of Litecoin, you have a bunch of Doge, you have a bunch of XRP, because these are the only things around. And it's not like he just mentioned, like, it's not true alt season until XRP and Litecoin start ripping off, because those are that's like, it's like OGs just like pushing their stacks around because they can. Like, you know, it's like, okay, now it's my turn to play. And so I think that's the reason why XRP is top 10 and Litecoin still has value. At this point, it's definitely not a test net for Bitcoin anymore. It's just kind of adopted its own use cases, if you will. But even those, I don't think are particularly strong. It's just, it's been around. A lot of OGs hold it, and so it has value.
Yeah, we really haven't seen Litecoin pop off. We haven't seen Bitcoin Cash pop off. We haven't heard from Roger Ver still. Barry's not talking to us. He's just sending noise out in the Twitterverse.
I don't know. His tweets have been pretty phenomenal in terms of calling like Bitcoin dominance. You know, he's definitely dropped some alpha and some like impeccable timing over the last several months. And then he pushed Ethereum Classic to over $100, which is, of course, what he would do.
Yeah. Well, you know, basically, the whole market is, at least from my viewpoint, the whole market is kind of in a holding pattern right now. I think that a lot of people are accumulating, a lot of people are on the sidelines, a lot of people are rotating in and out of some stuff at a smaller scale. I have no idea what the institutions are doing.
What's your top five, Rishi?
My top five, I guess, in order, before I start, to clarify, like, what was the question? What deserves to be top five right now? What deserves to be top five right now for the month of May and for the month of June? I would say it would go in the order of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, Tether, and let's see. The next one's tricky. I could see it being Chainlink. I could see it being Polkadot. I could even see it being Solana. Just if things kind of get a little crazy here. But it really would be fitting for another major to swoop into the 5 spot. I could see a Litecoin. I could even see a Bitcoin Cash or a Stellar Lumens type of thing, because you know we're getting ready to sell it to retail as a currency. So it's like Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Lumens. The fact that they just meet certain criteria, and I think that if we are kind of getting to the very beginnings of institutions preparing to sell this stuff back to retail, they should probably be stocking up on all that stuff. So yeah, just to recap, I would say in that order, Bitcoin number 1, Ethereum number 2, Doge number 3, Tether number 4, mainly because I still see people staying on the sidelines for the next month at least. And for that 5th spot, either a Solana, Polkadot, maybe a Chainlink, like some DeFi play, or more predictably for me, like a major.
I think it's pretty curious. It's pretty interesting, and I might tweak my order because of this, but none of us had Ethereum at the number 1 spot. Although I think at this point, I guess part of that is because EIP 1559 hasn't taken place yet. But by the end of July, I do think ETH will be deserved of the number 1 spot.
I think when that happens, though, you're going to have a new alt season, and if you think that that's going to happen before the end of June, then I don't think we'll have to wait until August for another run up. If Ethereum flips Bitcoin, it's game on again. We're not waiting.
I think what's going to happen though is again, EIP 1559 doesn't take place until July. But what happens for typical alt seasons is that Bitcoin makes its run up, then Ethereum goes, or a couple of their names, and then it's alt season. So I don't think we're going to see 20K Bitcoin. I think the bottom's in. I think we'll see some consolidation, but I think Bitcoin's going to start creeping up, or if it hasn't already. Ethereum's not too far behind. I think it's going to make its play for the #1 spot, and then for the rest of the year, kind of towards the end of summer, early fall, it's alt season, baby.
We shall see. All right, final thoughts.
Final thought for me is on the Vegas Zcash bull there is, but also interestingly nobody put it in the top 5. I think what we're going to see is after we hit the mania phase and like people and their mother start getting rich, that's when privacy coins are going to go crazy, because people will be like, oh, I don't want to have to pay taxes on this. I'm just going to dump all this stuff into Zcash, make it untraceable, or whatever crypto, privacy crypto of choice. And I think I could see that being kind of a laggard as it's been so far. I think it's starting to make sense in my mind as to why it's taking so long for privacy. It's because the use case, while it's there, not enough people value it because they're not worried about privacy yet.
Zcash looks terrible, but maybe the God candle will save us. But yeah, whatever Rose said, Zcash is the future. Please buy our bags. Please buy Zcash.
Yeah. We're good. We're solid. It's definitely an interesting time. My thoughts, kind of final thoughts are, these are the times where you just have to turn your screens off. You just have to focus on what information you're letting into your brain. And just remember that, you started this for a reason. What's our original goal? Like I was telling you guys, pretty much everybody around me is wanting to share their depression with me about what they're going through, as if I've never experienced this kind of stuff before. And so I'm doing my best to help them through this. And I'm telling people to turn their screens off, to go outside for a walk. What goes down must come back up, whatever is kind of needed. But like, a lot of people are shutting off. And I don't think that that's the best approach. I think that you have to separate, and you have to get back to the stuff that actually matters. And I think for us, we've done a great job of sticking to the stuff that matters and not getting caught up in the hype, because, man, this hype is not really even hype yet. It's generated by the people that we rub shoulders with. So, I kind of look at this and I say, all right, just an opportunity to recalibrate, whether you need it or not. Usually you don't need to recalibrate stuff, but you do it. You do it just to have that kind of certainty. So this is a time to get back to like, okay, what do you believe in? Where are we in the market cycle? What do we need to be looking at? What are the various herds in the space, and what are they doing? And then just make sure that we know what our game plan is, and kind of stick to those guns. Put our heads down, do our reading, do our work, pick our heads up, walk forward, that kind of thing. So I think that we're kind of just getting a little bit of a break. It's been a wonderful 4 months, and we've had a lot of fun. And now it's time for everybody to forget about crypto for a few weeks, and not really forget about it, but that's what's going to happen. A lot of people are going to forget about it. So smart money, if that's what we're going to call ourselves, should just keep our eye on the prize, recalibrate, continue to move in the direction that we're moving in, and not really be affected by the sentiment of the market or of other people. Just kind of carry on and do our thing. And I think that that's what we're really good at. So I think that that's really what I'm looking at for the next few weeks. I think that the next run up will involve a larger percentage of people. It will be more media driven, and I just want to be ready for it. So honestly, if we can get a good 4 to 6 weeks without too much action, just a little bit of rotation in the space, I'll be a happy camper.
If you need a break, this is my plug for Iceland. I would strongly suggest everybody come visit because it is beautiful. It's the perfect time of year to do it. So highly recommend.
Yeah, I guess my real last final note would be just be on the lookout for any announcements coming from the Bitcoin Miami conference. There's supposed to be more speakers at this conference than there probably were attendees at the conferences back in 2017. And I'm really upset that I didn't go this year. I've been to the conferences in Miami in the past. They're always fun. There's, always a lot of parties afterwards, where partnerships are formed, and, it's going to be exciting because, in Miami, it's easy to do yacht parties, and I'm just excited to see the deals that are made and the announcements that come out over the next 6 months. That stem from this conference. So yeah, that's my final thought.
I heard that Floyd Money Mayweather himself is going to be one of the headline speakers at the Bitcoin conference. So maybe we are in a mania. Maybe is the top in? Are we headed to despair? Is that what that means? What is Floyd going to tell us about Bitcoin?
Did you see Sam ask Tom Brady on Twitter?
Yeah.
To join, and Tom, that's for consensus up in New York. But Tom Brady's going to be on stage. Floyd Mayweather's going to be on stage. Where are we?
They're getting
the
ready.
Top's not going to look like the top. The top, like all traditional top signals that crypto is used to, it's a new paradigm.
Look, if you're getting Money Mayweather, Tom Brady, they've been after Soulja Boy for a long time. Pretty soon Lindsay Lohan's going to be pushing Tron again. You get all these celebrities on board. It's happened before. They've tried it before. I think there was after Dogecoin in the early days, there was Doggy Coin. That was Snoop Dogg's coin. It's just they're getting ready for retail. I just don't know how far along they are.
Top.
Maybe it's when we make our politicians declare their top 5 crypto or their top 10 cryptos, and it's you vote on them based on their what you hold SHIB. There's no way I can vote for you.
What do you think Andrew Yang holds?
Dude, I bet you the Yang Gang holds some Litecoin. I bet you Yang Gang holds some Litecoin.
Yeah, I could see that. All right, guys. Well, it's been a fun call. I would imagine unless there's a whole lot of activity in the markets over the next several weeks. Our calls that we tend to have will probably we'll have the opportunity to kind of get into some more theoretical, philosophical, cycle-based discussions. Generally, when there's a lot of movement, we talk a little bit more about specific parties, specific people in the market, and specific price points, technicals, and stuff like that. But I could see us kind of shifting gears and kind of getting back to some more of the philosophical crypto conversations over the next few weeks. But we'll see what happens in the markets. Ro, it was good for you to be able to join us from your camper van. Enjoy Iceland for the remainder of the time that you're there. And Tyler, hope Birmingham's treating you nicely. Things are pretty cool here in Fayetteville, so rocking and rolling. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Great conversation today, and we'll see you next week.
Peace, guys. Thanks for dealing with my shit.
Later, guys.